viewers, welcome to yet another episode of PraniMitran's Chat and Share. It's a platform where veterinary professionals and experts associated with livestock sector across India share their experiences and knowledge. Today, it's my pleasure to chat with Dr. S. Ramamoorthi, a visionary veterinarian and animal nutritionist who is one of the founders and currently serving managing director position at Krishi Nutrition Company Private Limited. It was incorporated in 2013 and is headquartered at Erode district of Tamil Nadu. It is now a trusted name in animal feed industry within South India region, offering scientifically formulated, well-balanced premium cattle as well as poultry feeds. Dr. S. Ramamoorthi received his BVSc degree from Namakkal Veterinary College in the year 1997 and MVSc in Animal Nutrition from Thrissur Veterinary College in the year 1999. He is with us today to share his words of wisdom. Dr. Ramamoorthi, welcome to this show.
Thank you, Doctor, for your introduction.
To begin with, we see Krishi Nutrition Company being incorporated in 2013. And within a very short span of 7 to 8 years, it has grown phenomenally. And it is now one of the leading animal feed companies in southern India. Could you please share us how it all started? What was the motivation behind it?
Yeah, Doctor. Krishi Nutrition Company Private Limited is founded by a team of professionals with vast experience in the animal feed industry. Basically, it's founded by 4 members. Myself, Mr. Magarajan, Mr. Selva Kumar, and Mr. Ranganathan. We are all friends. We were working together in top-level management of leading animal feed companies in India. Mr. Magarajan is CEO of Krishi. He is looking after marketing and sales of animal feed business of Krishi. He is the main person behind formation and success of Krishi. Mr. Selva Kumar is a director purchase. He looks after purchase and supply chain management of our company. Mr. Ranganathan looks after administration, and of course myself looks after nutrition, feed formulations, quality control, feed production, and R&D related activities. As I said earlier, we are all friends working in different companies at very high level positions, and of course in the private sectors we have to prove our worthiness on continuous basis. Certain times we used to have difference of opinion with the management. One fine morning, actually, I decided to quit the existing job and planning to go for other companies. I discussed with my friends about my future plan. There came up an idea, why don't we start by our own? Then we sit together and discussed how can we do it and what are all the pros and cons of developing a new companies. Then we decided to go ahead with our plan of founding Krishi. Once we started, actually we got a very good response from our team members. Just they also want to join with us in our path. Then we decided to float a company in a better way. But even while forming itself, we decided that we should do our business in a professional and ethical way. How we expected our management to interact with us, same way we have developed ourselves. That's how we developed Krishi to go ahead in our journey. This is the main reason and motivation behind our formation of Krishi.
That's very interesting to know, Dr. Ramamoorthi. Going on to a similar type of probably a question to you, we find that when you started, there were already some well-established players in this sector. So what gave you confidence that you can still succeed? Did you notice any gaps in the market, or did you envision that you can do something different from what other competitors are already doing?
Once we started, actually, we had a very tough challenge because we were all working. So we had a lot of challenges in the market. Of course, market was growing. So we believed in ourselves that we can do well compared to any of the competitors, and we want to prove our worthiness in the market. That's how we developed a product that should differentiate from others. We have supplied the quality products from the day one and maintained that consistency in the quality. That's how we established our brand and brand name and as well as the product name in the market. That's the main reason behind our success of our product. And of course, markets also growing. So we could not see, even though they treat us as competitors, we could not find much of hurdles in terms of growing in our market.
That's very interesting, Dr. Ramamoorthi. And often it is seen that starting a feed company is a capital intensive operations, at least when such feed mills have to produce a crumble or pelletized feed. So how did you overcome such financial challenges? Was it all self-financed, or did you raise any capital by approaching investors like banks?
As you are aware that we are all working in the different companies, so we have a limited capacity in terms of finance. So what we earn in the market, actually our faith and what you call trustworthiness among the customers from as well as from the suppliers. So once we floated our companies, many people came forward for financing, but we have taken a decision, just we want to go with the government institution like banks. So we put our properties as a collateral and raise the funds to put up a feed mill and for our feed business.
Indeed, that's a very calculated risk, I can imagine. Often in producing feeds, we find conventional feed ingredients such as corn and soybean meal comprising the major chunk of the formulation. And they also tend to dominate the commercial feed market, and their prices are ever increasing. So do you think of any alternatives to come out of these type of challenges? Are you considering any other commodities in future?
Yeah, of course, corn and soya contributes a major chunk of feed formulation, particularly take poultry feed. But simultaneously, we have to work out instead of corn, we have been searching for other alternatives like jowar, bajra, wheat, and rice broken as an energy source. And we've been working well with this kind of alternatives, in particular in layer feed formulation. And 4 years back, we had a very tough challenges of maize price. That time, wheat taken as a substitute. So in terms of energy source, as I said, these 4-5 ingredients been parallelly working. But of course, once the corn price increases, this also parallel increases, but we are able to substitute to some extent. That's one way. If we take soya, naturally we have been looking for a sunflower meal, rapeseed meal, dry fish or meat compound meal, and of course nowadays rice DDGs also gaining momentum. So these are all alternative protein supplements for poultry ration. And dairy cattle, we are able to include a lot of unconventional materials without compromising the qualities. So that's main success and secret behind our growth path.
That's perfectly very nice to understand that you have got such plan B and C's in place when prices of the main raw materials are increasing. Also, there is a trend what we are seeing of getting into organic raw materials or consuming organic food. So, what exactly does organic mean in, say, animal feed or the meat sector? Is it practically possible in India as well? And what are the challenges?
Yeah, organic farming actually it's gaining momentum in Australia and certain parts of Europe, where it's organic farming means basically we have to cultivate raw materials without using any inorganic, that's synthetic fertilizers. They have to put only organic fertilizers like green manures or biofertilizers or decomposed manures to grow up that crops, and that crops has to be included in the formulations. That's the basic science behind terming organic farming. In India, it's not gain momentum as such. Here we used to can say more of antibiotic residue free meat and pesticide residues free meat production, because our population is very high. Bigger challenge is traceability of raw materials, because here is acreage of cultivation is very low. So we cannot source, even if we want to formulate at least some 20 tons of organic feed, we need around 12 to 13 tons of maize, then soya also. So traceability of raw material is the biggest challenge in India, and availability also become questions. Even if we work out, then cost may not be permissible to go ahead with pure terms in terms of organic farming. But people have been claiming in India just organic in the sense there won't be any inorganic chemicals or antibiotic pesticide residues will not be there in the meat and as well as egg.
Taking a clue out of your earlier statement, how do you compare then the bargaining power of buyers and suppliers of raw materials, especially the feed ingredients? who usually has a upper hand? Is it the buyers or the suppliers when you try to source such raw materials?
It's purely a volume game. Volume speaks in the market. Unless if you have a volume, if you want to go with, you have to go for 10,000 tons of maize or 3,000 tons of soya. So we will able to get a better price compared to any of the competitors. So that's why we build up a volume. So volume will help us to bargain better with the suppliers. Even then, we have to fulfill our 100% commitments to the suppliers. If we, whether it's a cash purchase or credit purchase, if we say it's a seventh day payment, it has to go on seventh day. So that's how we have established Krishi name in the market. Once we say this is the term of payments, we will 100% fulfill our commitments. So supplier gives some first priority to supply to Krishi. That's the main success behind Krishi's growth.
That's very interesting, Dr. Ramamurthy. Can you please tell us also about the pros and cons of two way of getting into this business of being into poultry or say dairy sector, where we find on one side there is a integration model and on the other side there is a commercial feed mills. From a layman perspective, what are the differences and which one do you prefer? And why would that be?
Naturally, as you said, there are two kinds of operations, particularly in the poultry segment. That's one kind. One is integration model. Other one is a commercial feed production and the commercial feed marketing. If you take integration, as you said, it's a company. They supply a day-old chicks to the farmer. They enter into a contract. So they supply chicks, feed, and then medications, all technical support. They give them to the farmers. Farmers' role is to they rear the birds till marketing age. Then once birds attain marketing age, that company will lift the birds and market by their own. Here they give them growing charges based on the performance, like feed conversion ratio or mortality. So here farmers are getting a consistent rate. That is, if its current rate is around 650 to 7 rupees per kg, they get growing charges. So they are not bothered about any profitability or loss of the company. So their profit is fixed, but it's the minimum level. That is a one kind of integration model. Then other segment is commercial feed marketing. So here farmers have the liberty to take the day-old chicks from different companies, and then they buy a feed from open market like Krishi or any of the companies. So they put the feed and then take up any technical service from the companies, or they have a consultant, they do it. Then they market the birds by their own. Here profit or loss borne by the farmers. And of course, we are a commercial feed producing company. So we look forward to develop commercial feed activities and commercial farming activities. And of course, we started a little kind of integration. That's a very initial stage.
Okay, nice to know. Also, what you have been in the market primarily catering to the different feeds. There are different feeds available, like from the range of poultry to aquaculture to dairy feed. From a layman perspective, is there any commonality between these different species feeds, or are they totally altogether different? I mean, in the context of, let's say, the content of the feed or maybe the manufacturing process?
If you take content of the feed in the sense of formulation is totally different. It's breed specific. If you take poultry, particularly broiler, it's a different kind of formulation. Layer is a different kind of formulation, and dairy cattle formulation is totally different. So raw material and formulation is be specific to specific breed. If you take a broiler feed, it's a high energy diet. So it's a lot of corn and soya there. So we have to attain 2 to 2.5 kg body weight in 35 days. It's a high intensity diet. Its formulation is totally different. If you take layer feed, that is, you can say it's not like broiler feed, whereas in layer feed formulation, bird should attain the body weight of 1.25, 1.27 kg at 20th week. That is the day of laying. Whereas dairy feed is totally different. As you are all well aware, its digestion is totally different. Like whereas in poultry, it's totally enzymatic digestion. Whereas in dairy cattle, it's a combination of microbial digestion as well as enzymatic digestion. So formulation and raw material ingredients is totally different. But if we take a manufacturing process, generally feeds are in the three forms: mash, pellets or crumbles. Most of the process in terms of commercial feed production, you can say it's similar. If you take a basic process, it's a raw material weighment as per the formulations, then grinding, mixing, cooking with the steam, pelleting, cooling, sieving, packing. These are all basic process. There's a fine tuning in terms of process, manufacturing process. There's a slight difference here, but not much. So we can say that's a formulation different. The manufacturing of commercial feed segment, if you take different species, you can say same, except in aqua, whereas it's a totally two different feeds. One is a pelleted feed, that process remains same. In extruded feed, that is a floating feed, that is a different feed processing altogether.
Absolutely. So, are there any standards or procedures set by the government of India for such manufacturing processes? Or maybe are there any accreditation? What type of routine checks one has to follow to maintain the quality of animal feeds? And maybe if you can throw some light on the latest technologies or tools, what you use for such quality control.
Doctor, as of now, there is no any regulations in terms of feed manufacturing process. But of course, Government of India just set up that Bureau of Indian Standard as one of the accreditation, and they have to all feed manufacturing companies in the coming days have to fulfill their that Bureau of Indian Standard certification. That's a BIS label should be there on the packing materials. Already that rules came up, but it's not been implemented because of that. COVID situation. So by year 2021, all probabilities they're going to implement that regulations. So all in coming days, we feel that we have to fulfill that BIS certification marking and their standards as one of the tool. And then of course other regulations, the ISO and all, that's for companies operating procedures. And then them again, as we've been supplying feed to the animals, and then the products being consumed by human beings, then we feel then FSSAI or certain kind of regulation may come in future. What kind of quality specification what we have following, that we want to narrate it. Actually, we have been checking all incoming raw materials and outgoing finished products online. Thus, we are having that advanced near infrared spectrophotometer. Thereby, we are monitoring all raw materials quality, then checking that quality specification before taking into formulation, and there is any changes in the nutritive value of that ingredient, we change that formulation accordingly. Then the production process also, we are monitoring that online quality checks. For every half an hour, we monitor that quality standards, and then that particular standards we will achieve that in the finished product. So we have, if you formulate a specific feed to specific breed, and that nutrients and all values are coming in on continuous basis and consistent way. And then we have a tie-up with Eonic. They're the basic manufacturer for amino acids. So we have been sourcing amino acids from them. So we have entered into a contract so that we'll get a complete digestibility value of all raw materials. That's amino acid value of all raw materials. That also we take into formulation. So our products, so we ensure our customers that it will be as per the standards what we claim, and then same values have been they're able to obtain in the market. So our feed performance always superior to any of the competitors.
Very interesting, Dr. Ramamoorthi. One area where you commented upon the pandemic impact, we have also seen that it has led to digitalization happening everywhere. So, do you think we can improve the overall efficiency of feed milling process with some new tools available? Or are there any practical problems that one needs to address when we are getting into using the digitalization aspect?
Yeah, digitalization is happening everywhere, and of course, you cannot compare with our livestock industry with the IT sector. But in this situation, actually, we can say all billing related activities will be done by the mobile apps. Even customers need not place any order individually. They can just enter their requirements through mobile apps. So we capture that into our system, and then automatically we can raise the billings, and then we check up the credit level of the customers, and then we can send the direct, and we can give complete details of the dispatch to them. So they are able to trace the tracks or all kind of follow can be done through digital kind of thing. Milling, everything is fully automated.
Yeah, it's really enlightening that you are using some of these latest technologies to be implemented in your company to be at front runner up to help the expectation of the end customer. Also, going into the same area, Dr. Ramamurthy, we have seen that there are often certain market dynamics happening in relation to animal feed, where there are some drivers as well as some challenges. So, what do you think there are such drivers or challenges when we refer to animal feed industry in India?
Marketing driver, you can say this increase in disposable income of people, particularly middle segment, their spending power has been increased and eating habits also changed. If you take India, that per capita availability of meat is still in 3.2 kg level against ICMR recommendation of 11 to 12 kg. And if you take eggs, we are at per capita availability of egg is around 70 eggs per year against 182 eggs. So there is a huge requirement and the demand for the egg and meat will go up. And people's also recognizing is one of the egg and meat as one, as particularly poultry meat as one of the cheaper source of protein. Particularly after COVID, there is a huge demand for egg and meat because now protein requirement, particularly in the pandemic situation, is gone up. So we could foresee there will be a huge demand in coming days for poultry products as well as milk. Also, we have having around 350 gram of per capita availability of milk. So that will also will be improved. So we hope there will be a demand for the poultry products and milk products. But challenges, as you are aware, that the raw material cost is going up day by day. So that input cost also is going up. So that will be one of the major challenges in coming days.
You referred about consumption of milk. So my next question would be something towards the dairy feed market. We know that 90% of it is still unorganized. So do we see any changes there or any shift from traditional feeding to, let's say, modern feeding methods? And what could be the challenges in dairy feed market?
Yeah, you are rightly said. Actually, poultry market and poultry feed business is in, can say it's more of organized. We can say we are in almost with the old standards. If we take dairy cattle feed and the dairy feed business as such, actually still in unorganized sector hand. Just 90% of the market still is a raw material market. If you take Indians, what you call demand, that's the requirement of compound feed for total compound feed manufacturing is around 40 million metric ton in India, out of which 30 million metric tons for poultry sector, only 10 million metric tons for dairy cattle feed. Out of which, actually, if you take 10 million metric tons, total requirement would be, if you feed 100% in organized way, it will be more than 70, 80 million metric tons should be the actual requirement. So farmers, what they do, they feed more of raw materials like wheat bran or ground maize or whatever the locally available raw materials they're feeding it. This you can say more of unbalanced feed. So and other hand, actually government of India animal husbandry department, they are developing crossbreeding program. So animal genetic potential is going up. So farmers are not feeding any balanced feed. So only 10% to 12% is the organized feed sector. So we are periodically conducting feeding trials as well as educating the farmers the importance of feeding balanced compound feed to the animals so that they can fully exploit genetic potential of the breed. So thereby they can improve their milk productivity as well as they can reduce the cost of production of per liter of milk. So there will be enough room for the dairy sector to grow, particularly in the what you call feed segment. Thereby we can improve the farmers' productivity also, and thereby they can improve their livelihood. But what we used to have it's been still in run as unorganized way. They're not taking any of the calculation of other labors or other activities into farming workings. Periodically, people are claiming that they're not getting enough price for milk. So that's one of the challenges in converting from raw material market to organized feed, compound feed.
Very valuable comments there, Dr. Ramurthy. Uh, Getting on to your competition with, say, let's say the other foreign origin or Indian origin new feed companies. Are you worried about such entries, or do you think that there is still something as an opportunity for Krishi nutrition to be different from these new entrants?
Yeah, a lot of companies are aiming Indian market because it's one of the potential market, and we are growing. Even though other places the feed market is become static, we are able to grow around 7 to 8% per annum. But we believe that whenever we are able to achieve our efficiency in operation, we can be competitive to any of the peoples. So we believe in ourselves that we will able to grow substantially in coming days also. We are not much worried about any of the new entrants.
Well said. Taking your vast experience and maybe helping the new veterinarians coming into this sector, we have often seen that industrial placements or campus interviews are very common in engineering sector, which is often lacking in veterinary domain. Do you think it will change, or maybe do you think there is a shortage of skills, and probably what can we do to improve the skill sets of the next generation vets to equip them for facing the real world when they graduate?
Actually, we believe that actually veterinarians are generally whatever we can say is they're more brainy people than IT sector people, because if you take that marks level and all for entry into any BVC degree program is very high. So we cannot say that they're not in any kind of dullness in their activities. Only thing they have to be tuned up to the industrial requirements. They have to periodically develop by their own, because once you want to graduate in from a particular segment, that is either production side or from a clinical side, you have to parallelly equip yourself. If you take poultry segment, you have to be well aware about the industrial requirements, so that once you come out of the college, then you have to be sure that you are able to equip yourself to the industrial standards. Of course, experience matters. Still, one should have a own experience so that they can develop by their own. What I am trying to say is that campus interviews also will happen in future. If you take Tamil Nadu University, actually there is a student recruitment cell are been functional, and even in fact they are calling us like companies for campus interviews. But in coming days, we feel there will be a demand for a veterinarians haven, because already there are a lot of recruitments going on at government sectors, and industry, private industry is also growing up. Only thing that so those peoples coming out of colleges, they have to equip themselves, not go only in the book terms. They have to develop by own skills, and there's a lot of challenges once you come out of colleges will be there, but they can succeed well. So I always believe that veterinarians can do well in any of the working environment.
Thanks very much for that motivation, Dr. Ramurthy. Before we close for this show, the last question about the future plans for Krishi Nutrition Company. We gather from your website that you are venturing into commodity trading and probably into agricultural sector as well. Have you started it already?
Yeah, actually, we have our basic aim is to concentrate more on feed business. Our major presence in southern states. That's Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Andhra, and Karnataka. We have our feed operations going on already. Then we want to expand our territory to neighboring states in coming years. And then, of course, just we started broiler integration at a smaller level. So maybe down the line, we want to go with parent farms and expand our integration operation as well. And of course, we are aiming for raw material trading and agri inputs at minimum level. Maybe we'll, I can say, that's already we've been doing certain kind of not agricultural input, but raw material trading. We are doing it at a very minimum level, and agri inputs also in the pipeline. And then maybe down the line, we go with any solvent extraction kind of operations. Whatever we want to do, actually, we want to do it in a professional, ethical way, so that Krishi brand name established forever. That is the main agenda and vision we have as a promoter.
Very well said, Dr. Ramurthy. And with that, I would like to say thank you very much for this fantastic opportunity to chat with you. And we at PraniMitran wish you many more successes and milestones for decades to come. Thanks once again for agreeing to be a part of this show.
Thanks, Devendra Verma and Dr. Premanand and PraniMitran channel for giving us a wonderful opportunity to interact with you. It's a great pleasure to associate and have an interaction with you. Thank you.
You're most welcome, Dr. Ramamoorthi. Yes, thanks for staying tuned for this edition of PraniMitran's Chat and Share. Please do share this video if you liked it and subscribe to our channel. Remember, PraniMitran is all about inspiring others by sharing knowledge. If you have any questions to Dr. Ramamoorthi or want to share your comments, please mail it to editor@pranimitran.com. Until I see you on my next chat with another veterinary entrepreneur, this is your host Devendra Verma saying bye for now. Good day.